Hello and good evening, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Lights Out F1 podcast. My name is Josh, and as always, I've got the doctor alongside me this evening to talk all things Formula One. How are we tonight?
And don't we have a lot of things to talk about tonight?
Oh,
F1 is back, baby.
We certainly do. I had my my phone out with it comes with the stylus. It's the Note, so I was just furiously writing down everything that happened every single lap. So it actually came in handy. But yeah, there was a lot of things to talk about, and I think it was a pretty good Melbourne Grand Prix actually.
It definitely, watching it, knowing that we've got the podcast coming up, has made it a different way of watching it, let's say. Like I was making sure to take notes, and I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're obviously the same, taking notes.
Yeah, I was. Like I was sitting there like on lap this happened, on lap that he said this, and it was probably over the top, but I just wanted to remember it come for this podcast. So yeah, it's been race week. It was Melbourne, and we had Mercedes just totally kill it in the qualifying, and we didn't really see that coming at all.
Yeah, even though in hindsight it was pretty much the same story last year, but just nobody expected it to be such a big gap this year.
No, it was like a second, I think, after qualifying had ended between Mercedes, and then it was the rest of the field. Ferrari were like 7 tenths, 8 tenths back. It was just a massive gap. So
yeah, it was 7 tenths, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, almost 3/4 of a second, which is massive.
Yeah,
we
and
all know that.
I don't know about you, but I was pretty concerned about the quality of racing come Sunday after Saturday.
I wouldn't say I was concerned. I actually thought Ferrari still had a lot of pace in them. I thought maybe they just couldn't get the best out of the car on Saturday, but I felt like they were going to have a better run in the race, which was futile.
Yeah, it was.
But as far as the race went, I thought we're still going to get a pretty good race in the midfield. Now, in hindsight, after the race, if we're just going to take that as the yardstick, it looks like we've got Mercedes in their own class. Then we've got the midfield from Ferrari all the way down to McLaren.
Yep.
And then we've got Williams.
Yeah, that's a good assessment. So,
but we know it's not going to be like that.
No, it's going to change. Things are going to happen. But, like, from the get-go, Bottas pipped Hamilton off the line. It was a really good start from both of them, but Bottas just nailed it. I think there was a tiny bit of wheel spin from Hamilton's start, but yeah, Bottas, he got the start he wanted, and he pretty much stayed there for the rest of the Grand Prix.
As they say, I think Lewis, the second phase of the start, I think he just bogged it down a little bit, and Bottas just got the perfect run, as did Leclerc behind them.
Yes.
Into turn one, he was very risque jumping in there, but they got away with it.
And we didn't have a Verstappen incident. We didn't have Perez running into one, Grosjean running off the track. It was a pretty clean start, so that was good to see.
Other than our man Dan.
Oh yes, Daniel. He's a wing exploding everywhere on a service road, and yeah, he didn't even get 20 meters before his race was pretty much ruined.
I don't know if those Renaults are the yellow on them is exactly the same as last year, but to me they just seem so bright and standing out. It's probably because Dan's there now, so head on the start, all I saw was the two Renaults. I saw Dan dart to the right of the grid, and next minute was just, oh shit, and they're already through the first corner, so I didn't even actually see it live. I was just concentrated on Dan. What's he doing? Shit, he's going to run into everyone into first corner.
I was doing the same thing. I was like, there's Daniel, and I just laser beam focused on him, and then just watching that front wing just shatter into pieces. It would look like it did. My heart just dropped. I was like, no, not another crappy home Grand Prix for him. So it's just one of those things, unfortunately.
It happens to a lot of the drivers in their home Grand Prix. Like, it took Alonso at Spain. He always seemed to have bad luck there. Yep. We know what happened to Vettel last year in Germany. I mean, Was it like the year before when Riccardo was here and he didn't even make it to the start grid?
Yeah, he had, I think, power unit issues on the formation lap. So
Poor bloke.
I know. So I think, yeah, there were a few incidences, but the big one out of that day was definitely the Riccardo thing at the start. There were a few interesting strategy calls through the race, such as Hamilton being called first, which he wasn't too happy about.
I don't know what was the thought behind all the early pit stops, because Vettel was very early, and then Hamilton was called in to cover him off.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yep.
I don't know at that stage if Mercedes were still just focusing on Hamilton versus Vettel, because why did they call Ham in first?
Well, they said it. They said it over the radio. They said it was to cover Vettel, and that was pretty much it. So they were afraid Vettel was going to jump them at some point through the pit stops. Because don't forget, I think he had did he have the floor damage straight away? We will get into that a little bit later on, but he was hampered by some floor damage.
I heard lap 4. I heard from Mercedes. Mercedes put a report out that it was lap 4, I believe, the damage. Did you see the damage?
Yes, I've seen it. It is literally just on the outside of the floor, on like which sits on the top. There's like a cover with about 8 slots in it. That cover was missing.
It's part of the diffuser, just in front of the left front rear tire.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It's it looks like a minuscule piece.
It does. It doesn't look like it does a lot of things, but like it obviously does, because it affected the performance so much. It was just like a 10 centimeter by, I don't know, 20 centimeter piece, and it was.
But that piece wasn't even missing. It was just a bit on top of it that was broken off. Like, if you guys haven't seen it, go out there on motorsport.com or on Autosport. They've got really blown up close photos of it, and at first look you'll think it's not even broken. What's the difference? You got to take a close look to see that little piece that's missing, but it obviously makes a big difference to the aero on these cars, the wash around the tyres, and what the big talk has all been about.
Yeah, well, I know since the new regs, like, they control the airflow from the front straight away. So from the front through the side and suspensions, through the diffusers, down through the floor. Like, they control that whole pathway of air, so it's just amazing.
Without getting too technical,
yes,
that's what all these changes from the front wing was, to get the aero wash, to make it cleaner, so to speak, over the car.
Yes.
And keep it closer to the car, so it's all attached to the car on the way through the rear. And obviously a lot of it comes through that diffuser, because there's a lot of air coming from underneath the car.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what happened there with Hamilton.
Yeah, so that was one of the interesting strategy calls, and he was obviously like, why did we do it? Why did we do it? We know now it was for Vettel. But as a race overall, after the uproar of last year, everyone's like, Melbourne's boring. We need to get rid of Melbourne. Like, I had a really good time this year. I really did. And I think people forget. They're just too quick to forget how good a Grand Prix Melbourne can be.
I really don't get what people expect. I mean, it's a street circuit.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
Melbourne is a very unique track compared to others on the calendar. Like, it's a street circuit. Monaco is a street circuit, but they're vastly different. Totally two different beasts.
Yes.
Now, if you were to judge the whole season just on Melbourne, you just can't. We need to wait till they get to Bahrain, where it's a completely different, free-flowing circuit. The grip levels are very low in Melbourne. It's a very bumpy track. So Mercedes just seems to have the trick around there. I know Ferrari won last year, but they were just lost this year, Ferrari.
Yeah, they were lost around the track. Mercedes were dominating in front, and then, you know, Red Bull were there with them, but there was some really good battling going on through the midfield. There were plenty of overtakes. DRS, a contentious one. I wasn't really sure about DRS at Melbourne, but there's 3 DRS positions. But I think for the opening Grand Prix, all the unknowns we didn't know, the crazy qualifying that we had on Saturday, You put all that together, and I think it was one of the best Melbourne Grand Prix we've had for some time. I don't know if that's down to the regs being changed. It's a bit of a coincidence right now, but I had a lot of fun, and it's one that I could go back and actually watch again.
I think what made it so much fun for us F1 fans is the action in the midfield.
Yeah, definitely. The midfield
Because
is where,
this is probably the most competitive midfield we've got at the moment in years.
well,
The cars are closer. The quality of drivers are actually, we've got a good set of drivers. We've got some rookies in there who can actually race by the looks of it.
Yep. Yeah,
I was very impressed with Albon.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, well, I didn't. I wrote Albon off, and he's proven me wrong. Fiat's come back doing all right. Norris did really well. He beat his teammate, and there were some real surprising results just all round. But yeah, it was. I liked it. I had a good time.
All these reg changes were, as you said, on the back of last year's Melbourne Grand Prix. An interesting stat was that in 2017 we had 3 overtakes for position. Last year we had 5 overtakes for position.
Yep.
This year we had 12 overtakes for position.
I was wondering where those numbers were. Yeah.
So yeah, we had 12 overtakes, which doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of things, but when you're comparing it to 5 last year and 3 the previous year,
Yeah.
so we've had more than 2 years put together at the Melbourne Grand Prix. So that's the midfield fighting. It wasn't changes for the lead, but that was just Bottas in his own class this week.
Because what I was watching was there were a lot more cars on the screen at once, which we didn't really saw the last couple of seasons. On Reddit, I like to go on Reddit sometimes, and a lot of them were talking about how the race director, the TV director, he didn't focus on the front-running cars. He focused on all of the midfield battles that were going on, and because everyone on Reddit's like, hats off to the TV director guy, because he showed it all, and it was just we got to see everything happening. So yeah, that and those numbers, they say a lot. They really say a lot. So maybe the regs are doing more good than bad.
Well, the drivers themselves, they said it was definitely easier to follow.
Yes.
But the jury's out on if it's easier to pass or not. But we shall see. I think it will come more to light once we get to Bahrain and then on to China, which are, open, fast circuits. So we really will see what the new DRS, the effect of the power of it has or doesn't.
Well, it's going to be something we're going to keep our eyes closely watching. Now, we want to do the S3 Awards, is what we're going to call them. It stands for Superstar, Surprises, and Stinkers. We give a Superstar driver, Surprising Driver of the Weekend, and our Stinkers, the Bad Driver of the Weekend. Superstar gets 2 points. Surpriser gets 1. Stinkers loses a point. And then we'll tally it up at the end of the season, and we'll see who's won the S3 awards. But hopefully, if you've got any, comment wherever you found this podcast, being SoundCloud, YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, Spotify. Give us your Superstar, Surprises, and Stinkers for the S3 awards at the end of the year. But Superstar driver, I don't know. I've chucked this on you at the last minute, but do you have your Superstar driver ready?
Well, I can't go past Bottas.
Fair enough.
I know it's boring and it's the easy one, but it really was. I mean, who else was? I can't even think who. Like Leclerc had a really good race, but he made a few mistakes.
Yep, he did.
I just have to say straight up, Bottas, 2 points for me for Melbourne.
Well, I'm tossing up between Bottas or Magnussen.
Oh yes, he did have a very good race.
Yeah, so I think I might hit up Magnussen just for this one, because if Haas's season is anything like last year, Australia was pretty much their only good race until everything went bad. So Magnussen gets the 2 points for me. And Bottas gets the 2 from you.
Who gets your 1 point? Who is your surprise of the weekend?
I think it's Stroll.
Really?
Yeah, because where did he ended up in 9th place.
9th.
And he beat Perez. I don't like the guy, but he surprised me. He genuinely surprised me. I mean, so did Lando Norris. Like, I was tossing up between those two as well, but Stroll. I'm going to give it to Stroll this week. He's my surprise.
Okay, I can understand you giving him the 1 point. I don't necessarily like it, but I can understand it. We can discuss it a bit further on. My 1 point is going to go to Lando Norris. I mean,
fair enough. Yeah, that'd be the other one I would have picked.
To get it into Q3, that just blew me away on Saturday. Like, that was just a super effort. Was he 7th or 8th on the grid? I think he was 8th on the grid.
Yeah.
First race. He's done a couple of practices before, but FP1s. So I thought it was a super effort. And in the race itself, I know he didn't get the best start. He didn't end up getting a point, unfortunately. He finished 11th. But I think he just took it easy. Like, I think he did the right thing. He didn't take silly risks, didn't make rookie mistakes. He just got the car home, which I think at this point is what was needed. I think it was a really solid drive from a rookie there.
No, that's fair enough. He was the other one I would have picked myself. Stinkers, start with you. Your worst driver of the weekend?
People are probably going to think I'm a prick, but I have to give it to Kubica.
Oh.
What is he doing? He finished 3 laps off the lead. Like, that's... I know he broke his wing.
That's a good point.
But he was 3 laps. Like, he wasn't just 1 lap behind or 3 laps.
Yeah.
I know it's the worst car on the grid. I understand. But Russell, he did okay.
He was 2 laps behind.
So, okay. It's just... Even in qualifying, I don't know if Kubica had a problem. Did you hear anything? There was almost like 2 seconds between them, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. I don't know. Like, on his second run, he had that puncture, and he knows I know he said that, like, he made all the mistakes there and he stuffed up and he needs to do better. But yeah, on his first run out, like, he was 2 seconds slower than last year's car, I think. Like,
I know.
oh, not 2 seconds, but slower than last year's time anyway.
Williams have lost pace the last 3 years on their qualifying time here.
Yeah.
Like, consecutively. Everyone else is getting faster by between 0.7 to 2 seconds. Sauber have improved from last year. So, and Williams are going the other direction. They're getting slower and slower every year.
Yeah. It makes you wonder what they're doing, because it doesn't look like much. But, yeah, so Kubica for you. Stinker for me. I don't know if this is considered harsh or not. Gasly?
Totally.
Max Verstappen, in the same car, got 3rd. And Gasly, all he could manage and muster up through the weekend was 11th. I had Daniel been in that car, I reckon Daniel would have been fighting for the 3rd spot with Max, if not taking 3rd. And that's what Gasly needs to be doing.
You and I haven't spoken about this beforehand, but I made exactly the same point. Last year we saw both Daniel and Max start at the back of the grid plenty of times, but they always managed to haul the car up into like 6th or 7th.
In an era where it was hard to follow. Remember that?
They always got it somewhere. Okay, it's Gasly's first race in a Red Bull, but he did have a whole year at Toro Rosso last year, so it's not like he's fresh to Formula One.
That's right.
I think he was a big disappointment.
Yeah, he really let me down. For anyone that picked Gasly, sorry, that sucks in your fantasy, but yeah, I just have to give it to Gasly. like Perez is close behind, but just considering the car that Red Bull have and where his teammates finished, I think Gasly's my -1 this week.
I think just before that wraps up our driver points there, but as a surprise thing, also Red Bull did surprise me. I did say in our preview show, I wasn't on the bandwagon, but I'm not convinced yet, but they're well on the way to convincing me that Honda just might be back.
True. He might be the next Fiat and just kicked out. You never know. If it keeps up,
it's possible.
Yeah. Now, let's get over some of the race incidences and things of talking points of interest. I know one of the most popular ones I've been asked to talk about is Riccardo's front wing. We did mention it. But, yeah, like you said, what do you think when you first saw it? My heart sunk. And then my second question was, why? I don't know what you thought.
The minute I saw it, I thought, what the hell? I'm not going to swear, but the way it exploded, it was pretty spectacular, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was trying to, on the replay, I was like, what was going on there? But there was a bloke on Reddit who did it frame by frame, and you can see that there was just this patch of concrete. No, it wasn't even a service road. It was just a patch of concrete. I don't know what it was for.
Oh, I thought it was an access road. It wasn't, was it? Was it just a bit of concrete for the hell of it?
Well, there was a concrete that was sort of indented, and then the grass. So I think when the front wing, because what's happened, his outer wing has totally flatlined on the road because it sparks up. If you watch the replay, it's scraping across the ground. And then as that indent of grass, it was a fairly big chunk of grass. As he hits that, I guess the wing got caught in that lift of grass there, and it's just sort of ripped the wing apart. But it was such a violent episode. I just thought that the wing had just exploded. But yeah, it ended up that he sort of just was scraping the floor when he hit that bit of concrete and came back up on the grass.
And if you have a look, he really wasn't, like we're saying, on the grass, but his right-hand front tyre was barely all on the grass. It's not like he had even half a car on the grass. It was just the start. He had a terrific start actually off the line.
Yeah, he had nowhere to go but around whoever he was going around, and that's where he ended up.
I think he was going around Perez.
Probably, yeah. He did a fantastic job of pulling up at turn 1 with all the reduced downforce and everything as well. He locked up like crazy, smoke flying everywhere, but he got it pulled up.
Just unlucky.
Yep, very unlucky. It annoyed me because I just haven't seen Riccardo have a good home Grand Prix for years and years now. But that's. I think every Australian was just heartbroken, basically, if you're wondering.
He ended up being a lap behind, and then they retired the car. But did you get to hear why they retired it? Was there an actual reason for it? Or?
I've to this moment still don't know why. I don't know if they were just preserving energy or
That's
the engine or something like that.
Because they were just never never climb up to 10th, and I think early on they're only allowed to have 3 PUs for the whole year, so I think they just erred on the side of safety.
Well, imagine seeing another Renault power unit explode and in fire. You sort of got to be a little bit worried. I think that might have scared them.
True.
McLaren, that's McLaren, by the way, if you're not sure who that happened to, Carlos Sainz.
You brought that up, and without taking ourselves on a tangent too much, but did you feel like the Fireys took a long time to get to that car?
That was a note I put down on my phone. I was like, they have taken so long to get there. They took like a good minute or two.
Sometimes we see that on some other countries, like say Mexico or somewhere, but in a country like Australia where we're so hell-bent on safety, I was very surprised at how long it took them to get there.
Yeah.
And also I was surprised how long it took Sainz to get out of the car.
Yeah, like if you didn't see it, the car was visually on, like you could see it was on fire, smoke pouring out. He just sat in the cockpit, didn't really look too worried. He didn't sound, anxious on the
No, he
radio.
didn't.
I don't think it was a fire marshal's post because I couldn't. They usually have like a big red F with a white F, where where someone is standing with a fire extinguisher. So where he pulled up, there really wasn't one there.
I think it was a really bad position too, because it was right at the entry of pit lane where normally you wouldn't be expecting a car to stop there. It's not actually out on the track. It's kind of off the track on the infield there. So maybe that's why it took them a while. Maybe they had to cross the track. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of because I thought he was just going to continue on into the pits because that would make the most sense.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Must have just
it did.
died
It did feel like
completely.
it took a lot longer than it probably should have.
I have to say, what do you think of Seb's porn star Mo?
Well, I wonder if he'd had a quick trip back to Canberra overnight or something. I don't know. It's not too far away.
I don't think it's done the trick for him, so he better have it nice and cleanly shaved for
Oh
Bahrain.
yeah, it was. I don't think it was a good look. It's not November, so he can't get away with it and say it's for Movember and for a good cause. But I don't know. I don't know why he's picked that, but I don't know. Maybe there's a new. I wouldn't have a clue, honestly. Canberra's the only thing I can think of.
It. It's just a big bushy 70s Mo.
Oh yeah, it's before my time, that's for sure.
Anyway, that was just a little side note. And speaking of facial hair, now this is a bit of facial hair that's done the trick. Bottas's new beard.
Yeah, well
It's the beard.
won by 20 seconds, so it must be working for him.
Now he should not be shaving.
No, he needs to keep it. He needs to keep it. He needs to just
I
big bushy beard by the end of the year.
remember in our preview show how I said I feel like Bottas doesn't have that mongrel in him and he needs a bit of fight. Mate, he must have listened to our show, I reckon.
Yeah,
and
good point.
Come out. he's taken our advice and he's come out, and those radio messages were just gold at the end. I mean,
he's come out fighting. Like there's a picture going around of him giving the finger to the camera. I don't know if that's a real photo, but if it's real, I love it because he's just sitting there doing these ones.
but I like it. This is exactly the way he needs to be if he wants to be a champion or a regular winner.
That's right.
I hope he doesn't go missing after this one race. I hope he's not back to the old Bottas come the next few races.
So you're a little.
He needs to.
Sorry, you're a little bit worried. It's just a one-off, and maybe you got a little bit lucky with the floor thing with Hamilton.
But
I mean that.
even if Hamilton had no problems, he was just nowhere near Bottas in that race. I think no matter what, you can't take this away from Bottas. He won it out and out, and he deserved it, and he needs to take this confidence and just roll with it.
Fair enough. I know everyone I've talked to is enjoying the new Bottas, enjoying the new radio calls that he's put out there. He's put the message out already, and if he can, like you said, keep that mongrel, this should be a very interesting season. We could have a new world champion by the end of the year.
The minute I heard him say, "How about that?" Like he was just when he crossed the line, it reminded me of Webber, with his not bad for a number 2 driver,
Yeah.
But the problem is, Webber went back in his shell after that and just, followed team orders. I hope Bottas doesn't do the same.
Well, we'll see what happens. Because it's funny though when someone else wins in Mercedes and it's not Lewis Hamilton, when it goes to the interviews, he's never as open as when he's having a good day. Like, have you noticed that? I just don't know. Like, he just seems like it's like yes, no, like what are you talking about? It was fine, sort of thing. Just one word answers. Just he doesn't want to be there anymore. I just get that feeling from him.
From Lewis, you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's obviously a competitor. He's a fighter, but to some extent, I think I have to disagree with you actually, because I find that I don't know if it's genuine or not, but he seems to be copping it on the chin pretty good. Like he wasn't out there making excuses from the interviews that I saw. He was saying, no, Bottas did a fantastic job. I'm very happy I've collected a good chunk of points. Like, I thought that was fair enough what he was saying, but maybe, as you're saying, maybe it's not as genuine, or it doesn't seem genuine.
It just comes across really insincere. Just the way he says it. I don't know. It's just a feeling I get. Maybe that's just the way he is, but and I understand that this is a guy that wins a lot of races, and he's there to win all the time, and that's why he's still in Formula One. Because I think if he wasn't winning, he'd be gone. But I don't know. I don't think he takes losing or coming second very easily. That's all.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I was just thinking today, like, imagine if Bottas went on a massive run and won like next 6 or 7 races in a row, like as Lewis has done previously. Everyone's talking about Bottas fighting for his seat, but like you said, I can see Lewis saying, "Oh well, I've had enough of this," and then all of a sudden we'll have an Ocon and Bottas team.
Yeah, I agree. Ocon. Yeah, Ocon's there. I think Ocon sort of might be, I don't know, he might be a little bit scared that he's going to lose his seat if Bottas remains this way.
Did you like his fake clap at the end?
I missed that. I didn't see that, unfortunately.
Oh, the camera's cut right across the Ocon at the right time. He was right beside Toto, and big smiles and clapping, but I would have loved to have just captioned it of what he's actually thinking on the inside.
Yeah, I saw a meme sitting on Reddit, and it was just like, just a close-up of Ocon, and he just looked like that moment he realised that he's going to remain a test driver forever, sort of thing, like when he saw Bottas come across the line. But, yeah, it was a good win by Bottas, and, just little thought on Lewis when he doesn't win. So, Ferrari's pace, you've got highlighted next.
Why are we so slow?
Do they know why they're so slow? I don't think they know why they're slow.
I think there was something about coming out of Ferrari that their PU, their engine, they were in save mode from very early on in the race. Like, even I heard, like, because they've got like engine mode 1, mode 2, mode 3, up to mode 5, and 5 being the most aggressive that you use when you're going to overtake someone or when you're defending from someone. Yep. I read that from lap 5 or lap 6 onwards, Vettel never went into mode 5. So that includes even when he was defending against Verstappen. So they must be not telling us the full story here with that PU. They're obviously having issues with it.
Well, I quote Benotto. He said, "We struggled with the tyres. We tried different setup approaches, but we never got the right balance. We were lacking grip. Do we understand that yet? Probably not. We need to go back, analyze all the data, and assess what happened." So they're not giving anything away. They're saying grip was a part of it. They seem to have the pace in testing. Maybe Mercedes were sandbagging, but I know you mentioned also I didn't read anything about it, but like the track temps dealing with the tyres and everything like that. So I don't know if tyres are an issue for Ferrari and they just haven't got on top of that. But
well, you could just visibly see towards the end of that race that the hard tyre was the one to be on.
Point. Yeah, because Leclerc was on the hard, wasn't he?
That's
and he
right.
was he about 0.5 a lap quicker?
He was 14 seconds behind Seb, and he caught Seb at for a few laps there at almost a second a lap.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good point. That was another thing I wanted to mention. Yeah, good point. He just, like, because they almost had it coming together at the start, and I just wonder when Leclerc got to the back of Vettel. Vettel was so slow. Surely there was
even early on.
Surely there was team orders there keeping Leclerc behind him.
So there should have been, I think, but we can talk about that in a minute. But back to the tyres, even early on when Riccardo went onto the hard tyre on lap 2,
Yep.
the leaders were lapping 128 and a half, somewhere around there was their race pace to 129s, and within 2 laps, Riccardo was lapping in 130s. So I think the hard tyre was the one to be on with the hot track.
Yeah, right. So that was
So,
the I think it was the
C4
compound, which
Yeah,
has
that-
honestly
that-
just confused everything. But whatever. So the C4 compound works good in the heat. Let's just try and remember that for the future. But yeah, you're right. It was quicker. I remember watching the timing sheets and just seeing how quick Leclerc was catching up to Vettel on the mediums.
And the other thing that I noticed, I haven't read anything or heard anyone really mention it. I haven't read it in Autosport or Motorsport magazine about the front wing. Remember all the talk in testing about how Ferrari and Mercedes have gone in totally different directions with these front wings?
Yep.
So I wonder if that had anything to do with it. I wonder if we can't base anything on just one race, but it's going to be interesting to see how this develops. Like, maybe Ferrari have gone the wrong way.
Maybe.
Melbourne is a completely different track to Spain. Like,
Sorry, you dropped out then.
lost you. Sorry, I was saying that Melbourne is a completely different track to Spain. So all the data that Ferrari may have gathered at Spain, it obviously meant nothing once they got to Melbourne.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know what else would have affected that, because I know it's a different track, it's a street circuit, but like the temperatures would have been similar. Wouldn't you think that they would have had similar performance? I know it's a different track, but it was hot in
It would have
Spain,
been a lot. It would have been a lot cooler in Spain.
because the track temp was only like sitting at like air temp that day. I think it was like 23, 24 something. Track temp was like 36. By the end of it, it was dropping down to like 33. So it wasn't extremely hot.
Yeah, we say that's not extremely hot, but they're coming from Spain, which is just towards the end of their winter.
I keep
Which
forgetting
I
that.
don't know.
That's a good point.
I don't know what the temperatures were there, but they wouldn't have been probably higher than 15 degrees.
All right. Well, I think that's a good point. I always forget. It looks sunny, and I'm like, it must be hot. So
No, it's winter over
yeah,
there.
good point. So yeah, tires with something to watch out for the rest of the year. And then there was
What did you think of the big talking point from Ferrari about the radio call to Leclerc?
yeah. What was that? The radio call to Leclerc. Was there team orders there? I didn't hear it if it happened.
Oh, you didn't? When he caught... actually, he didn't ask if he could pass Vettel. He said, should I stay behind Vettel? So basically, he asked if he should hold station, so he made it very easy for Ferrari to say, yes,
Right.
pull back. So...
Well, they were...
And...
Sorry, they were close into one, very close to crashing.
They did. Did you see the video on Formula One? They put up a video this afternoon where Leclerc's right wing just clipped Seb's left rear tyre. Lucky there was no puncture
that
there.
was super lucky. Like, yeah, that would have been an interesting one. And then, but like Vettel didn't give him any room. I know he probably didn't really see Leclerc, but he didn't give him much room, and it seemed aggressive. But I don't know. It just seemed to set the tone later on when Leclerc caught Vettel. I didn't even hear that message, and I was like, there must have been team orders. But if he asked, should I stay behind, then fair enough. But I reckon Leclerc should have had a dig. He was quicker.
I don't know. Well, there's so much uproar, and I think I'm probably in the minority with my thoughts on this. I mean, Leclerc is basically a rookie in the Ferrari here. Ferrari have already said before the season started even that they were going to concentrate their efforts on Vettel in the early stages. So they'd already stated their intentions, which they stuck to, which is, I actually applaud them for it. If you remember back in Germany, Kimi had to ask them, what do you want me to do, 16,000 times before they finally made a decision, which might have actually ended up causing Vettel into the wall because he had to push harder at a later stage in the race when it was wet. So at least this time, they've said, look, we're concentrating our efforts on Vettel, at least in the first few races. And that's what they did. And what, in Ferrari's eyes, what did they have to gain by swapping them over? They were still going to get the same amount of points.
Yeah, but I think he was quicker. Like, Vettel was going nowhere, and Leclerc was just so fast. He might as well just given him a shot at catching third. I probably would never have happened, but he was just quicker. I would have just let him go. I don't know.
See, if I'm Benito and I let Leclerc pass Vettel, then I've got to deal with the aftermath of Vettel chucking his toys out of the pram so early on in the season.
Well, it must be pretty obvious then that Vettel runs Ferrari, so to speak. People say that all the time.
Paid him $55 million.
Yeah, that's a
so
lot of money.
They've invested a lot in him, and they obviously believe in him. However, having said that, after 3 or 4 races, if Leclerc is, up Vettel's clacker the way he was in Melbourne, they're just going to have to let him go. And bye-bye Vettel, I'm thinking, if that happens.
Well, if that does happen and Leclerc is still faster, I hope they do let him around, because I reckon if he had gotten around him at turn 1, it would have been the other way if Vettel was to catch up to Leclerc. And I think they would have said, Leclerc is slower, let Vettel through. Obviously, because they're focusing on Vettel, but yeah, I don't know. I just think if you're going to do it one way, do it the other, but I can see why people are upset, that's all.
Yeah, I can understand too, and they want to see racing, I know, but really, we know that Vettel is not a 1 second or a half a second a lap slower driver than Leclerc, given the same machinery. Obviously, Ferrari know more than what we know, and he had issues. Like I said, he wasn't even using the full power of the PU. They were in conservation mode. So, if anything, I feel like they should have actually pulled Leclerc in and put the soft tyres on and tell him to go for the fastest lap and get the extra point there, because he was 35 seconds ahead of Magnussen.
That was the next point, because Bottas got it. He got it with a 125 something. And I know Max was out there trying to go for it. Hamilton obviously wants it because it's 21 extra points over the season. And you've asked, should have Ferrari pitted Leclerc to get the extra point? Sometimes I don't know if it's worth the risk.
There is a risk there. You never know what's going to happen in the pit stop.
Because you can go from, getting 10 points to now nothing in just a matter of seconds. Yeah, you're right. If the pit stop goes wrong, or when he's back out on track, something happens, or a safety car. A safety car is probably not too bad actually, but yeah, there's just, I think especially if you're up in the top 5 or so, the risk of losing those points is maybe a little bit high, and that's going to be up to the teams to decide whether or not it's worth it. And I think if it was Hamilton, he would have done it.
We all know Formula 1 teams don't like to take unnecessary risks. Yeah. So that you had Toto on the line telling both his drivers not to go for the 1 point, but drivers being drivers, they wanted it. And what did you think of it?
Well, I loved the top 10. Yeah, it was sort of, at the end we sort of knew the position, so it sort of created this extra storyline right at the end. It was like, who's going to get it? Is it going to be Bottas or is it going to be Max? Because it was clear that those were the two that were fighting for the fastest lap. And
we had Lewis saying, I want that point, like he was saying to his engineer, Bono, that, I need that point. So he really wanted it. And I had the timing screen open. At one point there, Bottas had a purple in Sector 1. I think Lewis had Sector 2 purple, and Max had purpled Sector 3. And so they were all going for it. And then on that second last lap, I saw on the timing screen Bottas go purple, purple, purple. He's got it. Like, I enjoyed watching that side of it right at the end of the race.
I did as well. So I think for the first race, it was a success. So we'll see what happens at the end of the season, though, whether it's changed it by much. But yeah, I did like the racing right there at the end because it was a little bit different.
Well, we did tell our listeners that we're not going to go blow by blow through the race, but just a couple of talking points from drivers that stood out for me. Like one of them was that middle pack that we talked about, the train behind Giovinazzi. I don't know if it's before your time, but it made me think that the Trulli train is back.
I was a bit young when Trulli was racing, so I don't actually quite get that reference too well.
He was notoriously hard to overtake. Like, he was a very quick driver on his day, and he could just make the tyres last, and he was just one of the hardest drivers to actually overtake out there. And Giovinazzi reminded me of that on the weekend. He held a good train behind him for a long time.
Giovinazzi, defender of the day for sure. So
he had nothing left in those tyres by the end of it.
I can't wait to see what he pulls out come race 2 and 3.
And that's the DRS was what was making it so hard there too, because they all had it. They were just up each other's gearbox. So there was 5 or 6 cars, and they all had DRS.
Yeah, that's true. We know Gasly had a shocking weekend. I don't even know what happened to him. I don't know if you know what happened.
We'll just have to. No, the only thing I heard was that he had a bit of debris stuck in his front wing. I don't know if it was from the first incident with Riccardo. I don't know if it was a bit of his debris in there or what, but I don't think it was a big enough excuse. Like, he was just nowhere. Wasn't just in the race; he was just nowhere all weekend.
I don't know. He just didn't have it, and he's got the same bits as Verstappen, and he got a third. So he needs to improve.
Watch this space, I say.
For sure.
Very disappointing.
Haas, they got Magnussen in 6th, and Grosjean a DNF with a wheel coming off on the front left. Suspension issues or something.
I don't know if you saw the tweet, but they were asked on the Friday press conferences after the Netflix documentary. Someone asked Gunther Steiner, so are you going to be wankers or are you going to be heroes? And after what happened last year, and it's just so ironic, isn't it, that it was still a pit stop error, but it wasn't the same error.
It was on the same side too. Same side.
I think what ended up happening is they had a lot of trouble getting that wheel on, and they must have obviously had a few goes at it, and they must have threaded it, because he lasted 15 or 16 laps after the pit stop before it let go.
Yeah, he did last a while. I know they were looking at the gun, and I know after the incident last year they were saying the design of the wheel and the gun and everything, so I don't know if there's a similar problem, because I don't know if they've redesigned everything again, but yeah, they did struggle to actually use the second gun to put it on, so...
just so unlucky. Like, they've got so much pace around Melbourne, 2 years in a row now. At least they only gave away half of the points this time, but still...
Maybe next year they'll get...
It could have been so much more.
Maybe next year they'll get both cars to the end. Who knows?
Poor old Rogro.
Oh, yeah. Now, there were a few other things, but I want to quickly talk about, and I think you do as well, the new Formula One app on your phone. I don't like it for many a reason, and I know you don't like it.
Well, I messaged you during the race, didn't I? And I said to you, how rubbish is this app? It took me a good 5 minutes just to find where the team radios were.
Yeah, it's in that side thing that like slides up. You can set them to autoplay, which was in the old app. But this season, there were considerably less radios played. The app used to beat the television for one. It used to play extra bits that the TV would cut off. And then it used to play a lot more radio through the race. And there was just... I don't know, for something that you have to pay for, I'm really considering not paying for it, because it just wasn't worth the money just to get these radios that are censored as well, that F1 TV Pro guys get the uncensored copies. But yeah, the design is bad. Took me forever to find the map because the tracker. I realized that there was a little button that you had to hit to scroll across. I just hated it.
I realize we all hate change, and if you're gonna change something, you gotta make it better. Like, seriously, this is just crap.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, it might look a bit fancier than last year's, but that doesn't necessarily equal better, man. Like, I finally got to the team radios, but then I realized I've got to have the commentary on to have the radio on. I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want the commentary. So I mute that, but then that mutes the radio. And I'm like, it took me ages to figure it out, put it on auto. And then, like you said, I was hearing the radio on the TV, and maybe at least a minute later on the app.
It was, but like, you used to get extra
So it's almost
radios.
irrelevant.
Like, you used to get the same as the TV. But now,
right.
and you used to get heaps of extra, but now you just, I was hearing everything that was on the TV, and I'm like, what's the point of paying for this then? It's like,
True.
it's the only way I'd pay for it is if I didn't have access to it live, but...
Was there just less radio all round, or do you think they've just cut it out a lot?
Well,
Because they may be giving it to the premium F1 TV.
I reckon we'll find out in Bahrain, because I don't know, like, new season, they sort of struggled. Because I did notice it last year, they were... It was better last year, but I did notice at the beginning of the year, they were sort of slow with the uptake. So I don't know if it's just because it was the first race and they might have new people working on it or whatever, but... I think Bahrain will get a better judge of things, but I hope at least the radio improves, because that's pretty much what you're paying for, is to hear those.
And it's one of the best parts of it, to hear the drivers talking to their engineers. You feel a bit more part of it when you're watching the race. I have a rule in my house, especially like when it's these daytime races, because you know how rare they are for us here in Australia, where like, as soon as you see the team radio thing come up on the TV, shut up, no talking. I need to hear the radio.
It's just one of those things. So yeah, the app, if you're out there listening, fix it, basically, or make the old one.
Well, obviously Bottas listens to us, so hopefully Chase is listening as well.
Or make the old one work again, because I like the old layout. Just make them both work, because they let us have both for a while. But anyway. So yeah, I wanted to talk about the app and just slack it off a little bit, and
maybe as the racing in Melbourne, let's just not judge it on the back of one race.
No, that's what I think. I think we should probably wait till Bahrain and whatever else is after that and see if they improve, because it might happen. Mm-hmm. Now we're doing the fantasy Formula 1 this year, and it was a pretty tough one to pick. I think I scored a total of 110 points, and you actually got 106. So I'm 6th overall, and you're 7th. So there's not too much.
Not bad
difference.
Well, I know I've got Mercedes as my constructor, so that got me out of a bit of trouble.
Yep, I've got Mercedes as well. Unfortunately, I had Daniel Riccardo as a turbo, so he got me minus 26 points, which was just bad. I should have picked anyone else.
Originally I had Daniel Ricciardo, but I thought, I'm just going with my heart there, so I went with my brain, and I think I changed
You've got him.
My turbo drive. Oh,
no,
change it.
You've got him as well. Minus 26. You have Vettel, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Perez, and Fiat. You've almost got the same team as me, actually. That's why we're so close.
I thought I changed Raikkonen to my turbo driver.
No, T's right next to Ricciardo, so...
Spewing. Okay.
You would have done really well if you had to hit that T on him. So yeah.
I thought I did that during FP2.
We'll chuck an invite code in the description below. Everyone can join that. Just go to the Formula 1 Fantasy and copy that code in to join our league. We've got 22 competitors at the moment, and I think Bethany, who's been following my channel Demo 1 Garage for a long time, she's actually winning with 196 points. So we're all being beaten by a girl at the moment.
And what's her team?
Yeah,
you
or
see
check
that?
her team out. It's, she's called a team the East Coast Autos, I think, or something. Lance Stroll, Vettel, Raikkonen,
Wow.
Magnussen. Hulkenberg was a turbo, so she got 44 points for Hulk. And Mercedes is a constructor, so 70 points all up. So 196 for the weekend for Bethany
Wow.
there.
Very good.
Yeah, East Coast Auto is Bethany's team, so she's number 1. And you and I in 6th and 7th. But yeah, if you want to join the F1,
Solid start.
we'll put that code out there for you. Yeah, not too bad, I think, because it was a massive unknown, but we know a little bit better now, so we should be able to make a few changes. I think, I don't know if I'll be getting rid of the Renaults or not. Just something to think about. Yeah. Right at the end, rookie watch. 1 point for the best rookie of the weekend.
Yeah, I thought that, through the year, let's just give 1 point to the best rookie of the weekend. We've got a quarter of the field of rookies this year, so we've got 5 new rookies. We've got Norris, we've got Albon. I'm just writing them down as we're going. We've got Giovinazzi. He's had 2 races before, but I'm counting him as a rookie.
Yep.
We've got who am I
Russell.
missing? We've got 2 more. Yes, we've got Russell. And do we count Kubica as a
Nah.
rookie after 8.5 years out? He's
No,
not a
he
rookie.
knows what he's doing.
Who else is the rookies? Or do we only have 4 then? Do we have Norris, Albon, Giovinazzi, Russell? We've got 4.
Norris, Russell. Right, yep. That's all of them there.
Okay, a fifth
Yeah.
of the field.
Oh, it's still a lot of rookies to have in a Formula 1 season.
And to be honest, it's very hard to judge Russell in that car.
Yes.
And I know I might seem a bit harsh on Kubica, but I just expect him to show a bit more. He had a shit start this week, so let's just see. Give him a couple of races and see what happens. But Albon, I was quite impressed. He made a couple of dives out the outside. This is a track where he's never raced that before in his life. So I thought it was quite impressive. We go to Bahrain, and I think he's raced there in the F2, so he might have a bit more knowledge of the track, and we might see a bit more from these rookies who've actually raced at Bahrain before.
So you're going Albon. I'm going to go Giovinazzi because...
No, sorry, I'm not
you're
going
not?
Albon, sorry, because... Well, I gave my 1 point to Norris in the drivers' surprises, so I have to stick with that and give Norris the 1 point this week out of the rookies. But I was just making a note about Albon.
Right.
He was quite
Yeah,
impressive.
they've driven Bahrain, so they'll know that track quite well. So we could see some of these guys perform really well. Maybe even see Russell perform quite well. Because Kubic's been away from the sport for a while, so Russell's going to know that track better than him. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's all going to be new to Kubica,
Yeah, pretty
isn't
much.
it?
But yeah, I have to give it to Giovinazzi. I just watching him defend so many cars for so long who had DRS constantly. His tires were dead. He was like on lap 26 or something. Like it was insane amount of time on those softs, and I think I have to give it to Giovinazzi this week.
Okay. All right, there we go. 1 point each there, and we'll see how that goes through the year and see who comes out on top.
Yeah, and so that's all the F1. I wanted to quickly gloss over some quick eSports news out there. Now, GT Sport, some of you might hate the game or love the game. I love the game. One of the reasons I got into it is because the FIA has officially endorsed the game as one of their they partnered with it basically. Like we've now seen the Motorsport Network partner with Codemasters, I think has happened.
Yes.
Le Mans Series has partnered with Forza Motorsports, and there's a few other ones out there. So the esports is a growing thing, and to have the FIA on board with GT Sport is a massive thing. And they held their first World Finals in 2018, but they started the new ones this year. For 2019, they were in Paris, and the manufacturer series was on. So after I think there was 6 races, qualifying races, the winning manufacturer was Aston Martin. So there was 3 drivers from that. And the racing on show, if you can go back and watch it, the manufacturer series was phenomenal. They had 3 cars wide at some points. They had some crazy strategies. It was all on show, and it was better racing than sometimes what you see on the TV. So
that's on your Facebook page and on your YouTube page. You've still got
I've shared the manufacturer racing on Facebook. It was streamed by GT Sport, so if you just look for Gran Turismo Sport or Gran Turismo on YouTube, they'll have a whole live stream there. So they do a proper show. They come out, they have commentators, they have, a lot like the Sky Sports broadcast, but it's on a game. And
so is it very much like the F1 eSports? I haven't caught that. Sorry, I need to go back.
It's similar. There's probably more events on one day, because they'll do like a whole weekend in like 2 or 3 hour sitting, and they'll have 6. Okay. They'll have the qualifying, and then they'll do like 6 races, which sort out the points and sort out the positions, and it's all GT racing in the manufacturer series, and the Aston Martin team was the winning there. So they had 3 drivers, and they would swap over each time they had to go to the pits. So it was like a sped up version of an endurance race sort of thing, but it like the racing was on point. It was the quality just astounded me, and I know there's a lot of people that I think they're a little bit hesitant to get into esport or watch it, but I think if you give it a go, that was a great example of what the great that can happen when you have some really good talent. And there's some big names coming through, like Fraga. The GT Sport guys will know who I'm talking about. And we even had Pedro Marzan. He came 7th in the Mercedes, and he drives on the Monday SFR GT Challenge, which I commentate. You can watch him drive around on Mondays. So, yeah, the guys are out there, and they practice a lot. So I just couldn't get over the quality, that was all. I know you haven't seen it, but if you get a chance, I'd just watch 1 or 2 of the races. They only go for about 5 or 6 laps. But it was...
I'll have to have a look at that myself, because I didn't get a chance this week. I saw you share it, actually, but I didn't get a chance to sit down and watch it.
It was great.
But sounds like I need to have a look.
I think the final race they had at Barcelona, it was 17 laps. It was incredible racing. And then
I love this time that we find ourselves in with esports, Josh. Like, it's just really starting to take off.
Yeah, the announcement today that Alonso was investing in it.
He's part of the Motorsport Network too. Yeah. Now he's an investor, and he's sitting on the board. So
he sees it.
This means a lot.
He sees it.
So now what we're going to have is an actual current, world champion driver giving input on a lot of these games, which is awesome.
Yeah, and like you'll have simulator drivers as well. I know that happened with the F1 eSports last year. Some guys got jobs with McLaren doing that stuff. So, and their skills obviously translate to the real world, because in the Race of Champions, like we said, we had a esports driver win one of those races there. So, and GT Sport for years and years and years has been doing the GT Academy, where they run like a boot camp, and then they find the best few drivers, and then they chuck them in a GT3 Nismo for like a Le Mans weekend. And there's 3 or 4 drivers that have gone on now to drive professionally in the Blancpain and Le Mans series. So there's success stories that come from gaming, which is amazing to think about.
And we haven't even mentioned iRacing. I mean, they're really stepping it up too.
Yeah,
now.
The prize money involved with that.
They're one of the, if not the biggest sim on PC racing, simulator racing, which a lot of professionals, which we've mentioned previously, do, the Norrises and the Verstappens and whatnot. But they've really stepped it up with the prize money. It's like they've been dormant for the last 9-10 years, and all of a sudden they're seeing that esports really taken off. So they've got their Peak series, and they're very big on NASCAR and the Heat series in NASCAR, I think, which I'm not really that much into, but we know all of America is.
I think with the accessibility of it all now, the Assetto Corsa, when that first came out, that was so close to being a real game, and then it came onto a console. So for the first time, you had there's purists out there, but like a proper sim on a console that everyone could play around with. And I think ever since that started to happen, and like the computers are getting quicker, the consoles are getting faster, the physics and everything in the games are getting more realistic. People are starting to take notice of the skills that some guy has built up playing in his garage or his bedroom on a weekend. So it's a very exciting time for esport, and I'm very excited to see where it all goes.
So am I. Onwards and
upwards.
And
talking of it, we've got an esport league, Friday Night League, which you run and I stream for you. Friday, we got the Russian Grand Prix at Sochi.
That's right. We had Singapore last Friday, not the one that passed, but the one before, where Zen Razo, our defending champion, won the race. He beat Yayo in the Ferrari, and then the Ming Man got the third spot on the podium. So that was our round one of season 3, and I crashed out. And we have this week we're in Russia, and I think it's going to be another competitive one. It's a funny track, Russia.
Yeah, it is. It's got a lot of long sweeping corners and then some very technical, hard braking zones as well. But downforce, you don't really need a lot of downforce at Russia, but then you do for some of those tighter turns at the end.
And it's not too bad on tyres, but it's just it's kind of technical, but it's not at this. I can take it or leave it, to be honest. Fair with enough. Russia, it's not one of my favourite tracks. Yeah. So that's where we are this Friday. So if you want to catch a glimpse of it, it'll be on the Demo One Garage and the Facebook page and the FNL1 eSports page. So you'll see that live with our mate Josh here commentating it for us.
Because I know you're all itching for more F1. I know what you F1 fans are like. You need more F1. So
it's pretty good racing.
Yeah, we'll have you covered. But I think we've gone over pretty much everything we wanted to cover through that. It's been an exciting weekend. There's been a lot of drama. Qualifying was off the hook. I had a lot of fun with that qualicast that we did. We will be doing a few more of those through the year, so keep an eye out on that. But yeah, Melbourne.
We'll let you guys know
Melbourne
as we go.
Did well.
Melbourne is in the books, and on to Bahrain we go. So, what are your thoughts for Bahrain?
I don't know. Like, I just think, well, if the heat's going to be an issue, then Ferrari are going to be down on pace again, because that's what happened to them. I don't think there's going to be much difference between Melbourne and Bahrain, so I think Mercedes are going to be out in front again. I just think that's just a given here. Max, I don't know. I think Ferrari might stay in still over the course of the week. And stay in 4th and 5th where they've ended up. But I could see maybe Magnussen up there, and like Hulkenberg did well. So I don't know if Daniel had a good weekend. I don't know where he would have finished. So he could even see a Renault in the top 5.
It's hard to say where Dan would have finished. We'd just be guessing. But yeah, he seemed to have a really good start for the first 10 metres.
Yeah.
And then just went sour. So, we do have to do some predictions also for Bahrain.
Well, I might stick Bottas in first again.
This far out, it's obviously difficult with trying to predict, but hey, that's what we do.
I'm going to keep him on top for Bahrain, and then Hamilton second, because the Mercedes are just on a different level this year. It'll be
Really? Okay.
it'd have to be a reliability issue for Mercedes not to finish 1-2, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go with a Vettel bounce back.
Good. I'd like to see that. I really would.
I really think all of that preseason form can't just disappear completely. Like, I know we talk sandbagging and all of that crap, but really, as we said, there's no really that much need for these teams to sandbag unless you've got a crazy fast car that you're trying to hide some illegal parts on. But it's
weird.
So I just feel like Ferrari has to bounce back. It's got to be Vettel.
Right.
And I'd like to see him beat Bottas into second, and then I'll put Hamilton on third.
Hamilton third.
Who will you?
My third, I'm going to chuck Vettel in third. I think he'll get in front there, but I just don't think they'll beat the Mercedes.
And then I'm going to go Leclerc in fourth.
I'm gonna put Verstappen down in fourth. I think there'll be another Verstappen battle, but Verstappen, he'll get the fourth one in Bahrain.
And I'm going to stick with my man Magnussen in fifth.
I was going to say the same thing, actually.
Okay.
So Leclerc's going to be outside the top 5 for me.
Ooh, yeah, you don't have him there. Okay.
While I like Leclerc, he had a few too many mistakes in Melbourne, which I think might cost him in Bahrain. That's all. I think he might settle down come Bahrain, but he made one or two. He was just lucky he had a big enough gap to mitigate it. But yeah, I'm going to give Magnussen the 5th spot.
Okay, it's not as easy as it seems. This tipping,
no, it's not. If you can have a go at home and send them in week by week, we've got a Discord which we'll also link down in the descriptions. You can post them in there, and we'll keep track of them over the season. But yeah, when it comes to actually picking them, it's quite difficult.
And just so you guys know, what we're doing here is we pick the top 5. It makes it even harder when we're doing it 2 weeks out. But we're giving 1 point for the correct driver in the correct position. So from Australia, I've walked away with a big fat donut.
Nothing.
And Josh here, he picked Hamilton in second. He got a point for that, and he picked Leclerc in 5th. So he walks away with 2 points,
baby. So good.
He's doing the Bottas and streaking away after round 1.
I need to grow a beard now. Well,
so that's where we're at with all of that.
It is.
So, is there anything else you wanted to cover?
I don't think that's it. I think we've done it all, and just like to say thanks for coming back again. Thanks to everyone that listened in during the first week. If you hadn't had a listen, it's still there. But bigger and better things to come through the season, and I can't wait to see what 2019 has in store.
Let us know what you think, guys. Give us some feedback. Even some constructive feedback. We're thick-skinned. We can handle it. If you've got any questions, throw them at us. We'll try and answer them in the next show. Some discussion points. Just give us some things that you want to hear, and we can, talk about what's relevant.
That's right. But I think from everyone here at Lights Out F1, that's me and the doctor, we'll say goodbye, and we'll catch you in the next podcast.
Take it to the limit and keep it on track.
See you later.